I just got done watching a video by Thunderfoot. It was a video on specifically, I can't remember what it was. It was the Like a Girl campaign. I think that was aired like for the Super Bowl or whatever. And the premise of it, I feel like I should explain it. The premise of the commercial is just that like there are these stereotypes that are put in place that are reinforced upon little kids. And so these little kids are brought up being taught, oh, well, if they're a girl, oh, I'm a girl, so I'm automatically weaker. I can't throw well. And they go through this process by having people stand there and be like, oh, what does it mean to throw like a girl? And they go like that, like the really like weak and uncoordinated throw. And then they're like, what does it look like to run like a girl? And they like start like flapping their arms and just like running in place in a really weird way. And they basically are just trying to demonstrate that this is detrimental to girls, that this is just an awful thing. But I'm not here to address the like a girl thing, because I feel like that's a self-refuting thing. That's not really a problem. Because there are gender stereotypes for both genders. Like for guys not supposed to cry. Like that's a stereotype, and they just exist. They exist on both sides. I don't think they're detrimental at all to either side. They just exist. But what I'm here to address is he also points out other campaigns that were brought up by the feminist movement. And one in particular that he brings up that I saw myself actually is the not sorry commercial, teaching women to not apologize for everything that they do. Basically, they're placing a stereotype here on women that women always apologize, which is not the case. But basically, I'll explain this commercial too. They set it up where they just have these scenarios. You don't really see too much in depth, but basically it's like the women in certain scenarios where like a woman's like interrupting someone who's talking and they're like, oh, sorry, but and then they state something. Or someone walks in on like a meeting and they're like, sorry, can I see you outside, or something like that. Another one is a woman is sitting down and her arm is like on the chair in like a like a waiting area, and her arm is like over onto the other chair, and then a guy sits down and puts his arm in, and they like bump, and she's like, sorry, like that. And then it goes through a scenario where it's like, be strong and independent or something like that. I don't even really care. And then they just like, they're basically just arrogant about what they're doing. Now, Thunderfoot does a good job of illustrating that these are things that you apologize for. When you interrupt someone, you apologize, whether it's intentional or otherwise. When you sit down and your arm bumps someone else's, or your arm is like in their space, you apologize. When you bump into someone's meeting, you apologize. Another one is there's a couple laying in bed, and like the guy has more covers than the girl. She pulls the covers over onto herself, and she's like, sorry, because she wakes him up. That's the only one I think that, you don't really need to apologize for a situation like that. And most people don't. I do, actually. I've had that scenario come up a couple times, and I apologized. But you don't need to in that scenario. But the point that I make, the problem that I have with this, is the fact that it's singling out women for doing this and saying, women, you need to be strong and independent and not apologize. In fact, it tells them to say, sorry, not sorry. Like, you shouldn't be sorry for doing something that's rude, which you should be. But the problem lies in the fact that men do this too. Every scenario, I have seen a guy apologize for, except for the bed one other than me, because I don't really see too many people sleeping together. Personal experience, I don't know if that's something normal to see, but all the other scenarios, sitting in a doctor's waiting room, see someone sit down, bump the arm. Oh, sorry. I see guys and girls do it. It's something that both genders do. People apologize for things. Perfect example. This is something I was actually thinking about today before I watched the video. Is I have a calculus class at my college, and it's in a big lecture hall. And I went in and I sat down in my seat. And I sat on the very end, and so all the seats in the middle were open. And people started streaming in. I was one of the early ones. And then people started walking by. They wanted to get towards the middle, and there's not a ton of room between my seat and the seat in front, as well as I had my backpack there too. And first comes one of my friends, Hank, a guy. He comes up, squeezes between, and he apologizes. Then comes a girl, and she apologizes. Then comes I don't remember the exact order, but there was like one more guy who apologized, and then like three more girls who apologized, and then finishing up the pack is a girl who doesn't apologize. And she like never has or anything, and it doesn't really bother me. It's just something that sticks out because, everyone else apologized. And that's not really a rude scenario, but it's okay to apologize. And I wouldn't say it's expected, but it's nice to apologize in a scenario like that. But both genders do it. And I would go as far to say as both genders do it equally. But this commercial only addresses women. Why? Because if you're talking about standing up and being independent in a, ironically rude way, shouldn't both genders want to do that? Be independent, even though that has nothing to do with independence or being strong. That just has to do with being polite. Both genders are expected to be polite, and you're only addressing one gender. This is the repeated problem that I have with feminism, is they address issues that affect both genders, that both genders either do or are oppressed by or are affected by, and they spin it to only be towards women, as if it's just solely a women's issue, and that women need to get over this and fight through it and just be essentially rude to everybody in this sense. It's not always about being rude, but it's about finding oppression where oppression doesn't exist. Now, in that case, I would say that would be potentially oppression if it only affected women, for one, and for two, if it was expected that you apologize in that scenario. Only in some scenarios would I say that you're expected to apologize. Now, a lot of them it's polite, and it would be suggested to apologize, but not required, not expected. That's the difference between suggested and expected. So why make a commercial like this? Now, I'm pretty sure, I can't remember which company it was, but basically it's a company that is geared towards women's products, not feminine hygiene. That's the Like a Girl one. I believe it's like makeup or something like that. Something that not only women use, but, that's the target audience is women. And so that makes a little bit more sense. But a lot of feminists took this issue to heart, and they were like, oh my God, this is so true. This is what we've been standing up for. This is what we're fighting for. When, no, that's maybe what you're fighting for, but it shouldn't be. And what was even more funny, and this is, going back to the Like a Girl one, is just how the Like a Girl, there were a lot of problems with the Like a Girl advertisement. And the Meninist tweet, as well as a lot of other people on Twitter, were as soon as it aired on the Super Bowl, were like tweeting about it, and feminists were like, "Wow, haha, wow." An advertisement airs for feminism, and men just freak out because they can't handle it and stuff like that. When what's funny is, it's not that we couldn't handle it. It's the fact that we saw the errors in it, and we thought we'd tweet about it. When you criticize something, you're not afraid of it, and you're not angered. You could be angered by it, but you're not angered by the I can't think of the right word. Basically, like when religion angers me, the premise of religion doesn't anger me, just like the premise of feminism doesn't anger me. It's the actions itself. So if a commercial airs for feminism that makes good points about maybe like free the nipple, I wouldn't complain at all. I wouldn't make any jokes. Some people might, but they're not angered by it. They just might be angered by the fact that you're pointing out something that doesn't need to be changed. You're pointing out things that are not really oppressions, or you're pointing out things that are affecting both genders, but you're twisting it to only affect women, yada yada, all these problems. But yeah, I didn't like those advertisements. I don't think they really addressed the issues well at all. I feel like they all had holes in them, and they all should have been made a lot in a lot different ways, or not made at all. That's about it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe, and have a nice day.